I don't see it.
That and ketchup.
We have to care about the agents.
Screaming at a drag show, so
Put it right on.
right. I'm like, okay,
The pizza boxes.
Right.
So we
We're real in there. Yeah, we're really in there. All right. Well, hey, here we are. We're on the mic here with Tory Atkins.
Hi.
Tory's been on our team now 9 months. We were just discussing July 1st. This is a ballpark around a year mark. And you've sold no homes. You've made no money.
I'm gonna have to quit.
Yeah, so pretty wild. We're at 17, I guess, did we say, closed completely, and now you're on a real hot streak with 10 pending.
Yep.
And yeah, so why don't you introduce yourself, kind of tell us where you're from, things like that. So let's hear about that.
Yeah. I'm first generation Floridian. I was born and raised here. I briefly moved away to North Carolina. My
Cool.
son's dad, he was in the military, so we were up there and then came back here. Love it here. I mean,
Yeah, right.
just-
No
there's
reason to
no
leave.
There's no comparison to anywhere. Like it's
Right.
just everything is super close and it's fun and there's just lots of opportunity and I
Yeah.
feel like I'm always meeting somebody new, so that's really exciting. Too.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing is the opportunity here is wild. I mean, even just jumping into housing, Zillow pegged Tampa as the #1 real estate market and Jacksonville #2. So, I mean, you're not wrong when opportunity, I think St. Johns County is like one of the most building and move to counties across America right now. But so you haven't always been in real estate. You started you were in sales, you were in car sales locally. So let's hear about that. Like, how did you kind of get into car sales? You're just kind of like, did you always find sales was like speaking to you? How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of tinkered with cars a little bit in high school. Don't like to talk about that anymore. But I came down here just looking for something, fresh and exciting. I was like, I don't really know anything about sales or anything, but I was like, okay, $10 an hour, like worst case, like I don't have a rent or anything at the moment. I could pay my bills and great if I make extra money, fine. But, it wasn't like a stressor. So then I got into it and I was like, okay, like I can control how much money I make, like whatever effort I put in, I can kind of get that out of it.
Right.
And it was really exciting. And
So that's interesting. So you went into cars because you had the passion for cars and then basically found out you were really good at sales.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like I was really good at sales right away. I think it was more so I was willing to stay late and constructive criticism. And I had, really, really good mentors there too. I mean,
Okay.
I definitely owe my old boss some credit there.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, but that speaks volumes too, because the same model kind of applies here where the opportunity's there. You just need to put the time, energy, and effort in. Like, no business anywhere are you just going to be able to walk in and be like, give me everything. I'm going to provide little to no effort. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of.
And that's like something that I really loved about this place or DJ&Lindsey. When I interviewed, I was like, okay, like the structure is really similar. Like, even starting with Olivia calling me and like following up, like I did like business development for the 2 dealerships and we did a lot of like outbound calls and like setting appointments and stuff like that. So I was familiar on the sales side of things with what she was doing, kind of the process in place. So that kind of attracted me to this company.
Right.
Because it's similar to something I was used to.
And that's interesting, taking that from being the hunted part of a headhunter. You were like, this person's doing a lot of the same stuff that we're doing too. And I like what we do. Wonder what they're up to. So cars, doing great, love it. What made the jump from car industry to home sales?
So I was never planning on leaving the car industry. I really loved it. Like I was excited. I woke up, went to work, and unfortunately we went from like hiring people to COVID and next thing I know, I didn't have a job anymore. And
Right. So
it was really sad.
like I say to a lot of people, I'm like, COVID only affected you and you only. It's like 80% of the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we even, a majority of the people, a lot of the W-2s even here came via that their opportunity where they were was no more. And when they started seeking other opportunity, one of the only places literally that was hiring during a pandemic were DJ&Lindsey. And we're like, no, we're going to continue to grow because we need it and we need to provide value. So I mean, what were you like? Okay, like real estate, or was somebody just like, hey, you should like check out real estate? Like, how did that kind of come about?
Well, I worked at home for like a year in between. I just wanted like a little bit of a break from the crazy schedule and the 9 to 5 and stuff. So during that time period, I was like kind of depressed, honestly. Like I wasn't happy. I was bored. I wasn't around people. I was sitting in a room all day, and I didn't have any like face-to-face interaction. And like I like being in front of people and kind of like moving around and doing whatever it is that I'm doing.
You're not like a homebody, stay at home, just putter around the house.
I can be, but not when it comes to work. Like I don't want to like just live in my house. Like I rather kind of like sleep at my house and live outside of the house and or at work. Like,
right.
I spend more time here probably than I do at home, and that's okay. But
it pays off.
Yeah. So I was like, what can I do to, change the way I'm feeling? And I was just like, maybe I'll get into real estate. Was good in sales. I like sales. I've always thought houses were cool. I liked going to like model homes with my grandparents when I was younger and being like, this is going to be my room, and like looking at everything. Yeah. So,
okay.
I don't know.
Awesome. So then you take the exam, you pass. Are you first time passer?
Yep.
First time passer. Makes sense. And did you immediately jump on board with anybody else, or were you kind of just like shopping around as to like what was the opportunity for you? Like how long were you licensed before you came to us?
I like pretty much got my license and started here shortly after. Olivia was calling me up until I took my test.
Sweet.
I did talk to like a couple of other opportunities, but I don't know, after just coming here, I didn't feel like I needed to venture out. I just remember coming actually in this room and like Megan being in here and like pitching everything, and it was a whole group of people, and I'm like, why am I here for a group interview?
Right.
And then I was like, I'm not leaving until I have a start date at the end of it. So it was great.
I mean, that's it. So a lot of times because there are so many people looking to see if this opportunity is for them, right, we do that. We kind of try and just like combine them and be like, okay, how can we all get you guys to see what we do one-on-one? And then again, if you think this opportunity is for you, let's sit down 1v1, discuss maybe some apprehension you have or other questions you might have. So that's really funny that you were a part of that, because I don't know at what point the people who are here, what point they were a part of that, because it was just Megan, then it was Megan Olivia, then it was, and it just kept growing. But that's really funny that you were a part of that. Were you impressed with the
so like we did group interviews too, like when I was hiring people, and like people were always like when you got there, but then she came and she started talking, a couple people left. I was like, keep telling me more, like I don't know, I was like, this is great. I was like, I was born here and everything, but I'm kind of like in that in-between age where some of my friends have their life together and are ready to buy something, and some people are kind of like trying to figure that out still. So it's like, where am I going to find clients? And the fact that we have all of these like lead sources and opportunity was really exciting for me.
See, and that's huge that you say that, because someone from here who probably has a wide sphere, because we see, I don't know how old you are, we don't have to discuss that, but like there are people coming out and they're 22 years old. I'm like, do you know any other 22-year-old in your sphere that's ready to buy a home? No. So a sphere model doesn't really work well for you, because you don't know anybody. I mean, are you going to call friends, family, like your mom's friend? I'm like, how weird is your sphere going to get before you realize nobody in your sphere is really buying? So for you to be able to meet people, again, we always use the phrase like, could you imagine opening a storefront and you're like, wow, I finally have my storefront. I'm here. Come in, like, please, someone come shop inside, but like there's just people walking by you. Now we're like literally sending customers in your store, and now it's up to you, which you've done a very good job of, servicing them, writing them up, basically selling them. So I think that's great that you recognize that early on, that you're like, my sphere is going to be super weird. I don't know. I don't really want to talk to them. And Jamie just said that, last week. He's like, I like my sphere. I don't want my sphere to hate me by constantly asking them to buy a home or forcing that upon them, especially in a city that they don't even live in. So like, it's even weirder. You being from here, a perfect point of that. Like, I probably still wouldn't even talk to my sphere or want to like approach my sphere. Like, yes, you'll help them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've helped, actually Galilea, who works here, helped her buy her house in December. And
awesome.
Then I just got another friend under contract. She's waiting to tell people, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right, it's not a complete dead end, but like that would be two. That'd be two,
and that's like out of
technically 27
between everything. Right
that'd
now.
be 2.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which to me is insane. How you can look at that and then turn around and be like, "You're getting raked over the coals." This is blah blah blah. I'm like,
I get so annoyed with that, because like you want to even have like if we weren't given that opportunity, you wouldn't even had it anyway. So what are you upset about?
Right.
Just,
We say that all the time, like 100% of zero is 0. So you get to keep 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Or you can keep half or 80% or 90% of whatever. You looking forward to that 90%?
yeah, absolutely. Of
Yeah.
course.
I mean, it's that 10% is great. It's going to be great. But yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt that the organization here have it structured the way that it is. It's like not top tier. And I think you're a great representation of that, given that you came from a sales realm, supplying leads, supplying business. It was up to you to work your tail off to close it, whatever that product might be, cars, homes, etc. That now you gravitated towards a model where it's similar, and then now you're crushing.
Yeah.
And I love how people will just be like, that's a fluke.
It's just a different product, literally. The same process, just
Right.
minor changes and
Right. So what in your goal first year, what did you have set? I want to sell X homes.
when I first started here, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I was like, I just want to sell 6. And I was like, well, that, like, I ended up doing way more than that.
Check.
So this
Got
year,
it.
I've, like, set a goal of 52, and I'm, like, a little bit behind. I'm, like, 2 behind. I have to get 2 more under contract by the end of the month to do that. But other than that, I'm pacing pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's
and it's early.
House
I
a
mean,
week.
we're still like
Yeah.
middle to late April. So that, I mean,
it's a doable goal.
yeah, for sure.
think.
I mean, we just had Tom Ferry on for the quarterly meeting, who was talking about how NEFAR as a whole is down 2%. And the DJ&Lindsey team's up 91% from last year, which was 3,025, 52. I don't know, I'm dyslexic. If one of the 3,000, it's over 3,000 homes sold. We're up 91%. And it's funny because your goal from last year during one of the best years of real estate was X, and now you've just made your goal for this year 52, and you're only 2 behind on that on pace.
And, like, I had, like, a little bit, like, my, I had some family, like, illness at the beginning of the year, and I took most of December off, so I didn't really, like, set myself up for the best opportunity to get ahead, but I'm trying to play catch up, and it's working, so.
Right,
Not
but
mad.
that's what we're constantly trying to be, like, there's nothing about the model that's broken. It's if you come in here with the wrong attitude and set yourself up for not aligning, which is fine. If this is not for you, that it's just not, because it doesn't make sense for you to come here and sell 6 homes and 2 of them be from your sphere, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. But if you want to build a reputable business and get, I mean, a lot of these agents you're saying, I'm getting, and you are one of them, getting the experience of 3 to 4 years of being in the industry in less than a year.
Yeah.
I mean, you are becoming a seasoned agent in 12 months, which it's proven because you're at 27 deals, where if you and every other agent outside of here thought they were going to do 6, and 6 or 10 would be a good year, that's still like 3 years at 30 homes, 10 a year.
Yeah.
And that's like a whale of a year too. That's like, I had a great year. All right, so 52 homes right now, on pace, 2 shy. We're going to put in the work.
We're going to get it.
To catch up. What else are you looking forward to? Were you traveling recently that I saw you were away somewhere? Saw you and your husband you guys were somewhere, or were you just enjoying a weekend outside?
I took Easter off, but I worked at 6 to 10.
No.
I took my son to the beach, and, like, we did some family stuff, and that was nice, because I do probably work more than I should, but I enjoy it, so it's like, it's not bad.
Right. Do you contribute, like, at home too? Obviously, right, you go home and your son, from being at school, now you have to go be a mom, so now you're like essentially teacher too. Yeah. Like, do you kind of enjoy that, or do you enjoy that time, or that's just like an added?
It's like, it's definitely challenging to try to juggle everything. I can't even, like, take most credit for it. My husband will hate me I'm saying this, because, like, he does most of the laundry and the dishes and the cleaning right now. Bad wife. But, we're getting through everything. He just has the flexibility in his schedule, whereas right now I don't. So I have a really great support system, basically, is what I'm saying, at home, which helps.
Which is huge. I mean, I think that's great, because then you'd bring that into the office if you didn't, right?
Yeah.
Then your work here. So, I mean, to be able to thrive and crush that business, and then be able to go home and have that support, because life still happens. I mean, I say that all the time, one of my guys was having problems with his dog, and I'm like, dude, life happens. Like, we'll figure it out. Can't like disappear for like a month and be like, no, it's fine. Right. But like life happens. Right. And I think everybody here is on board with that and working around to find out, what's the best solution for you. And I think you've done a great job between talking with Brittany, Brett, the rest of the leaders, rest of the mentors. Hey, this is what's best for Tory. And I mean, you're thriving. You're literally like killing it.
It was a challenge at first, but Brittany definitely gave some like really good like tips and tricks for balancing some of the home life work things.
Right.
But it's a lot better now.
How hard did you kind of lean on mentorship when you first started, and have you kind of let that leash out, or you're like still on them?
I definitely leaned pretty hard. Like even if like I'm one of those people that have to like double check myself with things because I don't want to say something wrong or do something wrong, or like I don't know. I've worked in like big compliance departments and stuff like that, so it stresses me out.
Right.
So I definitely leaned on them a lot. I still do. I mean, I ask them questions all the time, or like, hey, how should I word this, or what would you do in this situation? But I definitely think that I don't bother them as much anymore.
Right. But did you see even like,
I guess,
how much better did you feel knowing that you had them in that first?
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know if I could do it. Like, I pretty much was like a talking mask to like whatever they were saying.
Whenever they were.
Yeah. It's just like I was just like the face, and I'm like a puppet, like whatever.
Right, and I think that's wild to think that someone who had an extensive sales background, knew exactly how to deal with people, just coming into such a new cutthroat industry that you're like, I need like straight up savage in my corner, and you had two of them. Now you have, essentially like four of them. It just keeps growing. They keep just adding mentors, people who know, people who know what they're talking about. But I think that's a great thing used to lean on, because even Lewis said that. So let's jump into your TC kind of vibe. You, Emily.
Emily is the best. Sorry. Like, I don't like, Emily is a machine. Like, I don't know. Emily stays late. Emily works like super hard. There's no way I could manage everything without her. I mean,
you just lean on her just as hard, right?
Yeah, I'm probably like spend like 50% of my time at my desk, and then another like 50% bothering her. Like, hey, this, and this. Like, before I forget this.
Right.
And she's super helpful and on top of everything.
Right. And I think it goes without saying that if you had to work the file on all 27 of those properties,
no way,
that home life would probably get cut, or the 27 would get cut. You'd just be like, I don't have the bandwidth to be able to kind of handle this.
I could focus on selling a lot more with her support, with everyone's support, honestly.
Right. And
I don't have to focus on as much of the like little nitty details in between it, because I could be out showing homes. Whereas like if I was on the road, like I am showing, I try to show at least like 2 homes a day if I'm out doing that, and there's a question or something that needs to be done for like one of my transactions. Like there's no way I could manage that and drive and organize showings and
because you'd be handling all the administrative work.
So hard.
Yeah, you'd be doing it at home instead of being with your son, playing teacher, doing whatever it is. I think that's a huge value, to lean on those people, and because that's a part of the model, I think, and I don't think people realize that. That's why the structure is what it is, so that you can do that and not just be like absolutely drowning. And even if you were drowning, you could literally go to Brett and Brady and be like, I'm drowning. And they'd be like, cool, how do we fix this for you?
Yeah, they're always like asking me like, hey, do you need help with anything? Like, is there anything we can do? This and that. And it's like, it's nice. It's
right.
Nice. And
go ahead.
They're like, another thing I really love too is like, they're like understanding of like personal things. Like you don't have to feel like that like work guilt of like, if my son's sick or like I need to go run and do something and whatever, as long as I tell them and you keep connected, it's like they understand like that life happens too. And I've been places where people don't understand that, or they get angry or frustrated like, oh, this is not, what do you mean your dog's sick or this or your kid or something, and I don't have to worry about that as much.
Literally
really at all.
Literally life happens, and I think no one is more understanding than the crew here, because like as this place grows, like more crazy situations happen. Like even, this is so off the wall. Today I'm at my desk working, and I get a notification from Google Maps, and it just says like, hi. And I'm like, what? And it's like some woman who just went onto Google. She's a real estate agent, was with a completely different big box brokerage, is like, hey, I went here. It was right next to my house. It seemed super convenient. I'm licensed like 2-3 months. I'm just not receiving literally any of the stuff I was told, and all they're doing is asking for me to like pay all this stuff and fees. Like, can I talk to somebody? And I'm like, how are you messaging me through Google Maps? One, but I didn't obviously say that. But as we keep expanding and we keep just growing because we're dominating in the space, people are finding a way to. I mean, we have countless channels of ways to find us.
Yeah,
apparently now,
not hard.
Google Maps is one of them. But it just in an industry that's in the what does DJ always say? It's like an 80% or 88% fail rate. It's just constantly climbing because of things like that. Mm-hmm. Where you, fortunately, never had that issue because you just walked right in. I mean, you had the wherewithal to like be sitting here listening to Megan. And you're like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did I just see that you scheduled listing photos? Are you
a I did get an invite to listing team finally, but I need to go on one more appointment. So
okay. Because I only see it like randomly pop into my email. Mm-hmm. So like sometimes I'll just look at the name and I'll just kind of like, kudos. But yeah, I thought I had but it's always like the way that it works. Like sometimes people put so-and-so's name up in the wrong spot. I'm like, this is not an agent on our team. Is this an agent on our team? I don't know. But is there anything you're kind of looking forward to like through the rest of the year? I mean, we're coming up on end of year 1 for you, July 1st.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't really I've been focused on the now. I haven't really been thinking too much further ahead.
Right.
Like, it's kind of bad, I guess. I probably should.
No. It's understandable. It's just, it's just one of those things. When you worked for car sales, you worked at an outfit. We don't have to say the name. What was the brand you were selling?
Audi.
Okay. So you were selling kind of luxury cars anyway.
Yeah.
Did you find that there were a lot of, I don't know, not fake people, but like people who probably shouldn't be buying the car, affording the car? Did you always have that? Did you have to be like, hey, is this a good idea? Like, did you ever have like crazy situations where you're like, all right, sir, but
honestly, and this sounds kind of bad, like if they're going to make that financial decision, if you don't let them do it where you're at, they're going to go do it somewhere else. So you might as well put the food on the table for your family. Right. So if they understood and you gave them all the information to make an informed decision and they made the choice,
that's not on you.
It's not on me.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Occasionally we're like, you're like one problem away from not being able to afford this. But.
Right. I always think that too, because I think that trickles over into housing. People get something from Rocket Mortgage or, wherever, and you're like, I don't know, buddy. I don't think this is the best idea, which again, you educate them, but at the end of the day, you can lead a horse to water. So I think that's kind of, but no crazy right. There's no crazy stories from the car industry where you're just kind of like, one time I had this guy coming in wild, or this woman, I don't know, nothing bananas.
I mean, we definitely seen a lot of cash. One of my favorite transactions was there was a guy who was in the military, he was stationed overseas, and we did a completely sight unseen custom order. And when he was getting back from his deployment, we had to line it up where he perfectly flew into town, grabbed his car, and then drove to his next base. So that was really probably my favorite transaction ever. And that's something I think about a lot. It wasn't the nicest car or the craziest car or anything like that, but
just having all that lineup.
It was literally, it was wow, this feels good because we made this happen for him and he's happy and it's exactly what he wants. And
that's wild. I was just listening so I've been watching a ton of other podcasts and consuming a lot of content on YouTube to try and get better just at this, but then also find out what are things moving to. I was listening to a podcast about this guy called R.D. Winnington or whatever, but he sells luxury cars out in LA and how he got started. But he said, yeah, the car is cool, but it's literally the stories like that on delivering of the cars is what's the craziness of it. So he has a show coming out on Discovery Plus, but it was literally he was selling LaFerrari to J Balvin, and they're in LA, Balvin's in Miami, so they're all right, cool, did the deal, whatever. And it was funny because it was literally Drake's car that he bought and then resold to J Balvin. So he literally, that was the transaction. That's how he found Balvin the car. So he was all right, yeah, let's just do this, blah, 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 and we'll ship it down to Miami. And they're what are you talking about? And he's or New York, where I don't know, wherever the hell he wants the car. And he's like, yeah, it's going to Medellin. It's going to Colombia. And they're like, what? And like, so now they have to figure out how to ship this car. But I'm like, that's literally the fun in the transaction was of getting the car to where it's going. So it wasn't even the car in that case. It was literally the story, which I think probably goes hand in hand in the market now, because half the time some people like, hey, I'm in this house. You want it? Like, this is what it looks like. It's like, cool, like, put in this, right? It's flying.
And that's something like, because when we did the department that I worked in was mostly like internet sales and business development. So we'd set appointments for the sales staff, down there, and I trained people to do that. And we would also handle all of the like over the phone online transactions. So people had to completely rely on like my opinion, my judgment, me looking at like the car, taking videos, like noting anything that was wrong with it. Like, and I mean, I've sold like pretty much like Lamborghinis over the phone, R8s over the phone, like where these people never came to the dealership and saw it. So it's like, that's a lot of money for somebody to trust you to make, a judgment call and give them the information on. So it's kind of cool because I've been able to take that with like, FaceTime or virtual appointments. Obviously I tell them like, hey, I'm not a home inspector, so don't need to do this. Like, I'm not perfect. I might miss something, but I can give them a good feel and try to point out or comb over the home, like as if I was buying it myself, to try to make them feel more comfortable with the situation. Because a lot of people aren't local and they can't spend weeks down here home searching. They have to come down after we have a home under contract and then look at it.
Well, those cars at that price point is almost like a house in itself. So it's not like it was changing much to where it's still the same amount of money on the table. It's just kind of what that money is purchasing. That's pretty wild to be able to sell that stuff over the phone. Yeah.
It was fun. It was really exciting, especially like.
That's probably why you loved it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love cars. I mean, so.
Right. But and do you kind of find yourself now like falling in love with homes, or it's still kind of just like I'm in it, like this is just what I'm good at, so kind of like, or you kind of see yourself
I've always liked houses too. I mean, like I told myself like when I was in the car business, like long term, I was like, hey, I'm going to spend this amount of time here. I'm going to make enough money so I could start buying real estate. So part of the reason I looked into this too when I got laid off and everything was because I'm like, if I'm already doing this and like this is something that interests me, maybe I can get into it, learn a little bit about it, and then
so that's interesting.
That knowledge too.
So you even knew long term, it was real estate was going to be a play of like continuing wealth.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild because a lot of people, especially now, like everybody's just looking for the bag, right? They're just like, how do I just make cash like hand over fist? I need to do this so I can live my life and do that. And it's like, hey, it doesn't just fall out of the sky. If it does, it's like that's the lottery. That's literally how it works. But rarely does that happen. And two, it's like you have to put in the work. And Gary Vee, I don't know if you listen to Gary Vee a lot, but he says most of the time, if you can't even do 12 months of, he calls it taking and eating it for 12 months, he's like, you probably don't even deserve the money you think you deserve in the first place. He's like, you couldn't do something for one entire year to set yourself up. Like, he's like, just take your money and just go play the lottery or go gamble and just hope you. Because he goes, that's the amount of luck that you'll have in order to get that. Because there's just no situation where anybody just can be like, oh, just shit, here. That's what you want? Oh, cool. Right? It's crazy.
I wish. That'd be great.
It would be great. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't happen. I mean, I'm just over 2 years here, and we've never not grown or not scaled. Right, like we've never not tried to put our heads together and say, okay, how do we do something bigger, better, that nobody else is doing? I mean, when you talk to these other realtors, are you kind of like hearing like, wow, why are you doing that? Like, do you hear any of this stuff? Like, I read a lot and try and look a lot on the internet and find out. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I've said this countless times. I'll never understand door knocking.
No, I don't want to do that, especially not with gas prices. Like,
I'll never understand it. I mean, I've never answered my door expecting no one to be at it and then selling me something, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad this person showed up. Like, I'll never understand that, and I just don't understand why you can hear that and then be like, it's like the oldest thing in the book. Like, people used to sell vacuums door to door, then it was knives, now they sell solar panels and whatever, and I'm not trying to dog anybody's thing, but I'm like, that's not really good marketing. And right now at the price of gas and any other expense, it's just not a good form of marketing.
Yeah, and like pretty much anybody begins their search online. So why go knock on one door when you can knock on a whole bunch virtually?
Right.
And just get in front of more people.
Right. Like, do you just be like, man, I really need a new pair of shoes? Do you just go walk up to your front door and open it and you look around and be like, no
Where's the
shoe
shoe
sale, no
guy?"
shoe salesman. I guess I'm not buying shoes. Like, right. You just go online. You find a way to get what you want. And right, for the most part, the journey starts online, which is what they've invested. DJ and Lindsey have invested copious amounts of dollars and opportunity to be able to provide that opportunity to you guys. You just also happen to capitalize on them, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is the goal.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wins.
Right. That's the point. Well, we absolutely love you. You're on a crazy streak right now. 10 pending. We're still 2 behind, though.
I know. I'm going to catch up.
No. You're right on par. You're right where you're supposed to be. Those 2 are going to come.
Yeah.
Because you put in the work. Put in the work. You put in the hours. You're manifesting it. It's going to happen. I'm surprised your phone hasn't blown up today and be like, Tori, we need that house.
It's on silent right now, so.
Well, anyway, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe us everywhere at DJ and Lindsey. Also, you can follow Tori on Instagram. She's one of our hottest salesmen right now. She's on a hot streak. Number 10, we're looking for number 11. This podcast is also sponsored by Audible. I always forget this, but we got a Matt. Let's put that link down in there. We have like a referral link for you guys to sign up. It's a free something. I don't know, but it's sponsored by Audible. Tori, thanks so much. See ya.